You have to not be scared to go away. Obviously, I think a lot of people are frightened that if they go away, if they disappear for a while, everything will crumble. They'll come back and there's no place for them.
When Sade Adu disappeared for many years, no one really knew why. But now, she has finally opened up about what was happening. Sade went from making classic songs since her time with the band Pride to struggling with the pressure that came with being famous.
There was a French journalist hanging in a tree with some pretty powerful lenses. He wanted to get some of those nasty first thing in the morning pictures, you know, doggy sort of pictures of me.
Her success came with a heavy cost, and part of that cost was her failed marriage to Carlos Pliego.
You were with your husband Carlos for 4 years before you guys decided to get married, and then you got married, and then the relationship ended. That's sort of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But it happens like that.
Yeah.
Now, she's finally letting us see what was really going on behind the brakes and the smooth voice. Let's get into it. Helen Sade Adu, known as Sade, was born on January 16, 1959, in Ibadan, Nigeria. Her middle name, Sade, means crowning glory, and it would later inspire her stage name. Her father was a Nigerian economics teacher, and her mother was a British nurse. They met in London in the 1950s and later moved to Nigeria to start a family. When Sade was 4 years old, her parents divorced. She moved to England with her mother and brother and stayed with her grandmother. Even though things were tough, her mother kept the family strong, and Sade still stayed in contact with her father in Nigeria. While growing up, she listened to soul artists like Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye. Her father also influenced her taste in the genre. However, as a young girl, she did not think she would become a singer.
My father was a real soul and jazz freak, and I wasn't brought up by him, but I spent some time with him. I've grown up listening to Marvin Gaye and Bill Withers and Aretha Franklin and Nina Simone and Billie Holiday.
After high school, she moved to London to study fashion design because she thought it was a more realistic career. She worked in fashion for some time, designing clothes and even helping style the band Spandau Ballet, and she opened her own small shop. But fashion was not her true love. It wasn't close to what she deeply desired, but she did it to survive.
Spandau working with Spandau was very much just something that happened. I was designing, and they were friends of mine, and they were coming to New York, and they wanted to do a show before they...
Slowly, life guided her to where she really belonged: music. At first, Sade didn't plan to be in the spotlight. When she was suddenly made to be the lead singer with Pride, the band that discovered her, the pressure hit her hard. The music industry was tough, and for someone who never saw herself as a star, it could have easily been too much. But instead of backing down, she stepped up. Her smooth, deep voice started turning heads, and before long, she was the center of attention wherever Pride performed. She began writing with Stuart Matthewman, Pride's guitarist and saxophonist. With members of the band's rhythm section, they started performing their own material at Pride shows. Her solo performance of Smooth Operator drew industry attention, and in 1983, she, Matthewman, Andrew Hale, Paul Denman, and Paul Cook left to form Sade. Sade's popularity was evident at her first London show, where 1,000 fans were turned away. She debuted in the US the same year and signed with Epic Records in 1983, with the rest of the band joining in 1984. Their debut album, Diamond Life in 1984, recorded in 6 weeks, reached number 2 in the UK, sold over 1.2 million copies there, and won the 1985 Brit Award for Best British Album Worldwide. It sold over 6 million copies, becoming one of the top-selling debut albums of the 80s and the best-selling debut by a British female artist. In late 1985, Sade dropped their second album, Promise, which hit number 1 in both the UK and the US. That album was their first to top the US Billboard 200. It spent 2 weeks at the top, eventually selling 4 million copies and going 4 times platinum in the US hits like The Sweetest Taboo and Never as Good as the First Time, cemented Sade's popularity, earning them a 1986 Grammy for Best New Artist.
Had nothing to lose. She said it.
Their third album, Stronger Than Pride in 1988, went triple platinum, led by the R&B hit Paradise. In 1992, Love Deluxe followed, reaching number 3 in the US, selling over 3.4 million copies, topping charts in France, and going 4 times platinum. Around this time, record execs wanted Sade to work with big-name producers and go for a more commercial sound, but Sade refused. She wasn't interested in being molded for fame or money. All she just wanted was her music to stay real.
To get away from it all and to get away from that pressure. I learned right from the beginning, quickly, that it's not what I want. I don't want to be out there. I don't particularly want people to know intimate information about me.
Outside of that, Sade's personal life wasn't anywhere as smooth as her music. In the early days, she lived with her boyfriend, journalist Robert Elms, in an old, abandoned fire station that had been turned into a squat. There was no heat. The toilet was basically a setup on the fire escape, and they were constantly struggling to make it through each day. It was far from glamorous, and not surprisingly, the relationship didn't last. As Sade's fame grew, so did the attention. The media wouldn't leave her alone. They spread rumors, followed her everywhere, and picked apart her life. It was the kind of pressure that could break anyone, but Sade just kept moving.
There was a French journalist hanging in a tree with some pretty powerful lenses. He wanted to get some of those nasty first thing in the morning pictures, doggy sort of pictures of me.
Later on, she married Spanish film director Carlos Pliego, hoping for a peaceful, stable life. In the beginning, it felt like a fairy tale, but the happiness didn't last long. Things fell apart, and she eventually left Madrid with just a small suitcase, heartbroken and tired. She later described that time as one of the saddest moments in her life, realizing how even love can fall apart when life gets heavy.
Carlos, for 4 years before you guys decided to get married, and then you got married, and then the relationship ended. That's sort of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But it happens like that.
Yeah.
When Sade returned to the UK, she was ready to start fresh. She wanted to put her past behind her and rebuild her life quietly. But just when things started to feel stable, another problem came her way. The foundation of her home in North London began to crumble, forcing her to move out for more than a year while repairs were done. It felt like life kept throwing challenges at her, one after another. Still, Sade faced it all with her usual calm strength. She didn't complain or seek attention. She just focused on herself and took things one step at a time, slowly rebuilding her life from the ground up.
I got quite involved with the reconstruction of it because it was a real crumbling ruin. But there's very little furniture in it at the moment. There's like one room with everything in it.
While Sade was out of the spotlight, rumors started spreading. People began whispering about her health, saying she might be struggling physically or mentally.
But when the rumors surfaced, she had a nervous breakdown, there was the battle with drugs, didn't you want to come out and say, hey, look, I'm okay?
No.
Some even claimed they had seen her wandering through London streets casually, dressed simply, looking like just another face in the crowd, instead of the glamorous star the world was used to. The media didn't understand that her absence wasn't about fading away. It was about healing. Sade wasn't hiding. She was taking the time she needed to rediscover herself and stand on her own terms again. That quiet period became one of the most important times in her life. She finally found some peace after years of chaos. Away from flashing cameras and endless noise, she started feeling like herself again. And somewhere in the middle of that calm, she met Jamaican music producer Bob Morgan. Their bond grew naturally. It wasn't about fame or pressure, just two people finding comfort in each other. Their connection brought a kind of balance that Sade had been missing for a long time. Not long after Sade and Bob moved, they welcomed a daughter together, and that changed everything. Becoming a mother gave her a new kind of strength and purpose. For someone who had spent years navigating fame, pressure, and heartbreak, motherhood grounded her. It reminded her of what truly mattered, like love, peace, and family. Sade and Bob decided to move to Jamaica, where they could raise their daughter surrounded by Bob's culture and roots. It wasn't just about relocating, it was about healing. Jamaica became her sanctuary. It became a place where she could breathe, reconnect, and live without constant judgment from the world. Life there was calm and simple. She enjoyed the quiet days, the ocean breeze, and the chance to live freely. But even though she'd stepped away from fame, music never really left her. Sade kept writing and recording, but on her own terms. She wasn't the kind of artist who rushed albums just to stay relevant. For her, the music had to come naturally. She once said that creating required a certain peace of mind, something she couldn't fake or force just because people expected it. Still, even in Jamaica, fame found its way back into her life. In 1998, she ran into legal trouble. She was accused of reckless driving and missing court dates. The story made headlines everywhere, blown up by the media as if it were some huge scandal.
A senior officer came out of a room next to where I was and said, "Arrest her," and that was it. I had a glory-seeking barrister in the court said.
Later, Sade explained that it wasn't as dramatic as it sounded, but it reminded her how hard it was to fully escape public scrutiny. Despite that, she kept her focus where it belonged. It was on her family and her own growth.
Go to places where there'll be celebrities and where I know there'll be photographers and journalists, and I don't do a lot of interviews.
By the early 2000s, Sade felt ready to step back into the studio. In 2000, her band dropped Lovers Rock, their first album in 8 years. Sade's Lovers Rock received great reviews from critics and became a major success, hitting number 18 in the UK and number 3 in the US. It sold over 3.9 million copies in the US by 2010 and earned her a Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2002. The single, By Your Side, was also nominated for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance and later ranked among VH1's Greatest Love Songs.
Outside, baby, and you can't get in. I will show you.
To promote the album, Sade and her band launched the Lovers Rock Tour in 2001. That was her first tour since 1994. It sold out quickly, expanded to over 40 shows across North America, and made over $26 million.
This is awesome. Thanks for being where you are. Thank you very much.
In 2002, Sade and her band released Lovers Live, a live album and concert DVD that reminded everyone just how timeless her sound was. The project did incredibly well, earning gold and platinum certifications and proving that her magic on stage was just as strong as in the studio. Around that same time, she received one of Britain's highest honors, an OBE from Buckingham Palace. This was for her contributions to music. She also lent her voice to a Fela Kuti tribute album with a remix of By Your Side, a subtle nod to her Nigerian roots. After that, Sade took another long break from music, almost like a decade this time. She stepped away to focus on raising her daughter and to slow down her life, spending most of her time in the Caribbean, surrounded by calm skies and ocean breeze. For her, it wasn't about disappearing, it was about living life quietly, without the noise and pressure of fame. Then, in 2010, Sade came back in a big way with her album, Soldier of Love. Fans had been waiting for 10 long years, and when the album finally dropped, it felt like the world paused for a moment. The title track hit hard. It was everything from emotional, bold, and full of meaning. It wasn't just a song. It was a statement about strength, resilience, and surviving after years of being away. Almost immediately, it shot to #1 on the Billboard charts, showing that Sade didn't need constant headlines or flashy publicity to make an impact. Her voice alone was enough to remind everyone why she was so special. After the album's release, she went on a world tour. This was her first in years. Fans who had waited so long for a chance to see her live finally got their moment, and every show was something special. Sade had this calm, graceful presence on stage that made it impossible to look away. The performances were elegant, magnetic, and intimate all at once, the kind of shows that reminded everyone why she was truly one of a kind. When the tour ended, she quietly retreated again. By now, fans understood this rhythm of hers, appearing, blessing the world with something beautiful, then vanishing back into peace. She wasn't chasing fame or rushing to stay relevant. She was just being herself. In 2018, Sade returned once more with 2 songs that felt deeply personal: Flower of the Universe for the film A Wrinkle in Time, and The Big Unknown for Widows. Both songs carried her signature warmth and emotion, the kind of music that touches your heart without trying too hard. After that, she slipped back into her quiet life, this time in the countryside of England, with her partner Ian Watts and their blended family. It was far from the glitz of red carpets and flashing lights, but that's exactly what Sade wanted. She found happiness in the simple things. Things as trivial as family dinners, long walks, and peaceful days. Life slowed down, and she embraced it fully. Her son, Izaak, became her greatest joy and source of strength, a constant reminder of what truly matters. But even with all that peace, there were moments that tested her. Before Sade's 2018 comeback, Izaak came out as transgender. This was a deeply personal and emotional chapter for both of them. Sade supported him every step of the way with complete love and understanding. She never wavered, never questioned. She simply stood by him like she always had. Their bond only grew stronger through it all. Those close to her say it showed who she truly is at her core. It showed how calm, loyal, and endlessly compassionate she is. Then, just recently, Sade came back again. In 2024, after 6 long years, she returned with a new song that carried a powerful message. The track was part of a project by the AIDS nonprofit Red Hot called Transa Selects, an EP that celebrated transgender voices and allies. Sade's song, Young Lion, was a touching, emotional apology to her son, Izaak. The song is filled with love, understanding, and healing.
The sun, shine like a sun.
In Young Lion, Sade sings softly, "Young man, it's been so heavy for you. You must have felt so alone. The anguish and pain, I should have known. With such a heavy burden, you had to carry all on your own." The lyrics are tender and raw, almost like a letter from a mother finally putting her feelings into words. When Izaak spoke about the song in an interview with Rolling Stone, he said it touched him deeply. Though there was nothing I needed to forgive her for, the lyrics, "Forgive me, son, I should have known," really struck a chord, he shared. "My mom never tried to oppress the boy I silently always knew I was. She always let me be me."
My mom she didn't make me be a certain type of way. She always just let me be who I was.
It was one of those rare, touching moments that showed how deep and real their bond was. A mother's love that never faded, and a son's gratitude for being accepted exactly as he is. The way Sade supported Izaak so quietly, yet so powerfully, said everything about who she is. She didn't need to make a public statement or seek attention. Her actions spoke for her. And once again, in true Sade fashion, after giving the world something so personal and moving, she slipped back into her quiet life, letting her music and love speak louder than any spotlight ever could. Even though she's always kept a low profile, her influence is everywhere. So many artists, from R&B singers to hip-hop legends, have said how much Sade's sound shaped their music. Her smooth voice, emotional lyrics, and calm energy have inspired generations. You can hear bits of her style in artists like Drake, Beyoncé, and The Weeknd. They all pay quiet tribute to her timeless touch. In 2023, her legacy was officially recognized when she was invited to join the Songwriters Hall of Fame, a huge honor for someone who's always written straight from the heart. And the following year, in 2024, she became a nominee for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a reminder that even after all these years, her impact on music hasn't faded one bit. Through it all, Sade has remained the same, graceful, private, and true to herself. She doesn't chase fame or headlines. She lets her art do the talking. And somehow, that quiet strength has made her one of the most respected and loved artists of her time.